So I want you to imagine for this trick that you split the deck into two halves and your participant is going to mix up their half, take out a card, memorize it, and they're going to put it into your half. Now you don't even get a chance to see the back of this card, but these cards are not marked, okay? But by simply taking your packet in your hand and just by kind of holding it up to your forehead like this, you're gonna be able to get the sense that I feel like the 9 of diamonds was chosen, wasn't it? Yeah. We can do this again, just so you can see they take out any card. You don't look at the back. It goes into your packet. And again, just by taking the cards, holding them up to your forehead, you're gonna get that sense that it's the 4 of clubs. You can do this over and over again. It's a really cool trick. And the secret's actually staring right at you in this deck of cards. Welcome to the explanation for what is known in the original Tarbell course as X-ray cards. So it's a really cool deck peek device, and if you've been around Magic for some time, you might have recognized this principle permeated and perpetuated in other effects, but this classic one is a really cool one. And me personally, growing up, learning from the likes of, folks like Daniel Madison, other gimmick makers, this is right up my alley in terms of just a really cool experiment. It may or may not be something you carry around. I think that's totally okay. Some tricks I think are valuable to learn just for the creativity on display and kind of how that teaches you principles of illusion to learn and remix. So don't count this out. I would encourage you making this, trying it out at home. And it's a cool gimmicked deck that you get to make at home. That's another really cool thing, is if you just have a deck of cards, you can turn it into a cool gimmicked deck just by learning this trick. So I hope you enjoy this. If you like Magic content like this, like and subscribe, do all the YouTube things, but for now, let's learn this trick. So to make this, I do recommend you have a craft board and a craft knife of some sort. So of course, if a kid is involved in this, they need to do it with adults' permission and possibly help, but these will make this process a lot easier. The deck is comprised of two things. One half of the deck is completely normal, so you can just set aside about 26 cards of, for me, I just used an old deck of cards, one that I had already used a lot. That's easy when it comes to making gimmick decks. You won't have to worry about anything. And then here is the secret part of the cards. I'm going to reveal it now as I remove some cover cards here. And hopefully you can see that we actually have a hole right over the index of the cards. A quick run through on how it looks to make this. I am left-handed, just for context, but you're actually gonna take your craft knife. Of course, be careful when you're doing this. And I'm just making lines right around the index of the card. And I don't wanna go too skinny so that I don't accidentally cut into the index itself. So by avoiding the index in the cut, see, I almost made a mistake there. Go a little bit larger. By avoiding the index with your cut, you're gonna be able to know that the index will show through the hole. And this is what this portion is called. This is called the index of the card. You're gonna run over those lines a few times, just being careful, of course, and then you'll be able to cut that portion of the card completely out, and that'll leave you with something that looks like this. Wanted to take a moment to give a huge shout out to our channel members. I am super grateful for you guys. If you're a more recent channel member and you don't see yourself, don't worry. I just schedule these out a little bit ahead of time. If you're interested, you can join at the supporter tier to get exclusive badges and at the insider tier to get videos ahead of time. That means you're learning tricks from this channel before anyone else. We also have merch on this channel just to showcase your love for the art of Magic. Might even be a helpful way that someone sees like, oh, you're a magician. Would you show me a trick? It can kind of be an on-ramp for that for you. And there's also some sneaky items with card reveals. And if you know, you'll know what to do with that. And last but not least, I made this journal for magicians where you can recap performances. You can also visually track what's in your pockets, kind of your pocket space management. Just a helpful resource for you that you can get on Amazon. And of course, consider subscribing. Those are just all ways to support me, but hopefully add value to you as you enjoy some Magic. But with all that said, let's get back to the video. So throw on a podcast, listen to music, but do be careful and do focus well so that you can do this. Now, when it comes to this part, you might run into a few cards where you accidentally cut through or this bends too much. That's okay, you can just throw them away, don't worry about it too much, but if you're careful enough to not be too forceful but just be deliberate, this will stay intact enough for it to be fine. So now that you know the secret tool being on display, here's how to perform. I would encourage leaving maybe 1 to 2 cards on top of the gimmicked portion, doesn't matter how many really, and then maybe, optionally, you can have a kind of hiding card on the bottom as well. So that way on both sides, things are completely covered. Just hold the deck in a pinky break. This is where you kind of have your pinky inserted here so that you can kind of fan off the normal cards and hand those to your audience member. And then you have yours here and you can kind of show it on all sides and hold it in your hand, doesn't really matter. Now for me, I'm left-handed, so the index is right here on the inner portion. If you're a righty, it's gonna be in your left hand and it'll be toward the base of your hand. But in either case, I think holding it toward yourself is gonna be helpful. So they're gonna be instructed to mix these cards together, and they can do so. And then what's great is it's a free selection, so they don't need to pick it face down. It's a free selection, and they're gonna take these out. And maybe they select this card, the King of Diamonds. Now here's what you're gonna instruct them to do. You're gonna have them place it anywhere they want inside this packet of cards, and you can fan it out so long as you understand to keep the indexes hidden, right? So on either side, you need to be very careful about that. Depending on how you spread it, you could have it revealed or you could have it perfectly fine. So you want to make sure you're understanding where the index is and how when you spread it, that's going to create a good moment or a bad one. So understand how you're spreading them, and then they can place it all the way in, and you can genuinely square it up, put it down on the table. That makes it really nice and fair. Now to get the peek, you're going to explain how you're going to read their mind. So what you can do is you can show these cards both sides, and then to get rid of this cover card, you can say that you're going to hold the deck up to your forehead like this. And by doing that, you're able to eliminate that card from the bottom. Now, if you don't have that cover card there, you don't even need to do that. But something else you can do, it's kind of a standard procedure amongst magicians. When there's something that you need to cover, you just cover it with your fingers, right? So you can do this kind of quick flash of the bottom portion of the deck if you understand where you're covering it. And by that, you're going to be able to show them what seems to look like just a normal bottom of the deck. They wouldn't insinuate that you can somehow see through that. And so then by doing that, you have set up kind of the idea that you're going to place it up against your forehead. Now, if you want to intensify this, I think sometimes weird motions can be helpful if you ask the audience member to mirror them. And so what you can do is you can have them hold up their deck to their forehead, and you do it at the same time. So you're going to hold this toward yourself. Of course, you don't want them to see this angle and you don't want to flash. You're going to hold it toward yourself, and it's as you go up to your forehead that you are already getting the peek. So you see that there. This really cool window is created by this gimmick deck where you see not only the value, you see the K for king, but you also see the diamond for diamonds. Hold this toward yourself as you go up to the forehead, and you've already gotten your peek. So it's not while it's up at your forehead, it is before. So once again, invite them to do this if you'd like, but you hold this up and you explain, I'm going to hold this up to my forehead. And now it's all acting. You're going to, think to yourself and you're going to close your eyes maybe. If they're doing it too, if they're holding this up to their forehead, I think this is a great moment that insinuates more than just a card trick, right? It's insinuating the transference of thought. So you go through that and you say, you get down to the King of Diamonds, and they're going to say, yes, like that is my card. Then you can come to this deck, spread it toward yourself in such a way that, again, you are hiding the index holes, and you can take that out and hand it back to them. And that can be just its own moment. You can switch this deck back out or stop doing card tricks for a second, move on to other tricks, so that if you do want to do more card tricks again, you can ring in a normal deck easily. But that is the basics of how it works. Now you can repeat it so that you do this 2 times or you guess the card 3 times, but I think you get the law of diminishing returns there, so that can be its own thing. Now, something to note, you can do this as a full deck trick where the bottom cards are just there, hidden, right? So maybe you have them, select it from the top half, and the way you do that, right, is you kind of control where you're spreading. So by spreading only across the top portion, they will pick out one of these cards, and then you're going to spread the cards, and you can invite them. Just place it somewhere deep into the deck, deep down somewhere where I couldn't find it. They'll place it down there. You do want to be careful because, I mean, even now you can see these are clumpier cards, but also the holes can they can interact with each other. The corner of a card could catch it. So just be aware of what you're able to do with it. And then you can put it in together, square everything up, minding the index gimmick. And you can do it the same way. You can then hold it toward yourself and see that it's the 7 of spades there. So that is an option for you, but I think Tarbell in his original presentation of the trick, I think he understood that there's something to the audience getting to hold half the deck themselves, they're getting to shuffle it themselves, and they're also getting to look at cards. So it's not just your everyday average card trick. And then if you're having them mirror this, I think that's great too, because it really makes this more than just, hey, pick a card, found your card, and there's really the idea of thought transfer. Another thing that's great about this too is that if your audience is privy to the fact that like markings exist, which I think plenty of people are in the modern world, you can even kind of emphasize and rule out those things that you're not using, right? So emphasize and recap before revealing, like, you shuffled those cards, you didn't even let me see not only the front of the card, but I didn't even look at the back of the card. In fact, look, these cards do not have markings at all, and yet when you do that thought transference, you can then reveal the card. Only thing with this, of course, is that it is a gimmicked deck, right? This is a gimmicked deck, and so it cannot be handled by the audience. So you have to manage that in your audience management and presentation. Never leave the kind of lingering moment too long to where now that we're just kind of chilling out here, they're gonna wanna see those cards, especially if you have isolated one half from the other, which I think is why this is helpful to happen right before you move on into other tricks that you're able to do that are not card tricks, or you're kind of adept at, switching or ringing in things in and out. I hope you enjoyed this trick, and if you did, let me know in the comments below by commenting the word X-ray within your comment. It doesn't have to be the only thing you put in your comment, but just let me know by putting that there. But until next time, keep enjoying your magic, stay a hobbyist at heart, and I will see you guys in the next video.